Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I am RDY, and joining me today are...
Barack Malkin.
Ethan Lane Miller.
And Lexi Kohanski.
Yes, that's right. Yay! Our guest today is Lexi Kohanski. Lexi is a trans-Jewish writer and award-winning educator. Her work has appeared in Gashmias Magazine, Life is a Sacred Text, and the Trans Halakha Project. And she regularly publishes through the T4 Torah Patreon. An avid gamer and storyteller, Lexi is the author of Worlds to Come, a first-of-its-kind tabletop role-playing game for learning Hebrew. Before finding her calling, Lexi was an actor, ESL teacher, and farmer. Her favorite tabletop role-playing game is Apocalypse World. Her other favorite game is Blood on the Clock Tower, and she's currently playing through Blue Prince. But she asks for no spoilers, please, which is against our rules of 2 weeks out. But for Lexi, we're going to go with that. No spoilers. Welcome, Lexi.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you all so much. I'm so excited to be here and talk some nerdy Torah with you.
Yeah.
My two favorite things in the world, truly.
Blood on the Clock Tower is such a fun game. Do you play it a lot?
I have a group that we get together with every month or so, and we play it. And we just moved up to like a more challenging script, if that means anything to anyone. And we're really breaking our heads against it.
Nice. That's fun.
That's fun. I like it. I like a good challenge in a role-playing game. Just for the sake of my sister Susan, who's not into nerdy stuff, there may be some acronyms coming at you this week. Lexi, if you want to explain them, great. If not, one of us can jump in after they come up.
Yeah, you'll keep me honest.
All right, have at it.
Oh, great. So I have a smash for you today, which is very near and dear to my heart. It's something I think about a lot from both sides and something that I feel really informs both the way that I do Judaism and also the way that I interact with nerd culture and games in particular. So I want to start with the Jewish side. I want us to start by thinking about minhag, which is the Jewish word for custom or practice. It's often opposed to halakha, Jewish law, or a higher level of tradition than custom or minhag, as we often talk about it. Minhag is the kind of thing that's like, which prayer text do you use? Which do you keep 1 day of holidays or 2 days? Do you sit or do you stand when you're making kiddush on Friday night? That sort of thing. And when we talk about minhag today in the modern world, where we are so mobile and many of us, especially in the United States, our communities have not existed in the same place or with the same people for more than a couple generations at most. For us, minhag is a way of, I think, encountering a diversity of Jewish practice and helping us decide, what do we do? Do we need to take on these other practices we encounter, or can we live with a multiplicity of them? And often minhag is our way of living with that diversity. Like, oh, you're standing for Kiddush, you're keeping 2 days of Yom Tov, of holiday. Like, that's a minhag. That's a matter of like choice and personal practice and your family tradition or something like that. Like, oh, that's just a minhag. I don't need to do that. The Talmud talks about minhag very differently, which we'll maybe get to if we have time. But I want us to think about minhag and to smash it up with something from nerd gaming culture. I will love to open it up for guesses if anyone has a thought of where I want to go with this.
I've got a guess. Okay. You've talked about your love of tabletop role-playing games. So is our smash talking about house rules in tabletop board gaming?
That's exactly what the smash is. You guessed it.
First one. I was gonna guess as trying to schedule a D&D game.
Oh God.
Oh,
There's
like-
I would love to hear like how that connects.
Well, you were saying the minhag of like one holiday or like 1 days or 2 days, and I kept just thinking about like, God, how many times are these people gonna say like, I can't, this Tuesday's usually good, but that Tuesday's not good.
Like you can never get people to show up on time to get a game
or,
together.
or stop talking on time to get things started.
Mhm.
Is that
That's
related?
like-
Is that related to the parking lot conversations that take place after board meetings?
That's the inverse of it. Absolutely. Like it just keeps going.
That's where the real productivity happened.
That's right. In those spaces in between.
Yeah. Wait, Ethan, are you saying the parking lot is where the rubber hits the road?
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh wow. That's a high bar. That's a high pun bar.
We
Arnie.
offer-
Don't
We're-
challenge us.
you
You
know-
don't want to do this.
I've been a dad for a little while, so the dad jokes fly.
Yeah, Ethan guessed it. The smash that I have in mind is Minhag, Jewish custom, and homebrewed games or home rules more generally. So I wonder if we can start there. Like when I think of home rules, I think of first thing that comes to mind, free parking in Monopoly.
Yes.
And my question is free parking money in Monopoly, where if you land on the free parking space, you get all the money in the middle?
In
Is
my
that
house it is.
is that a minhag or is that halacha?
Oh,
Like,
that's
is that a
minhag.
custom or is it actually part of the rules of Monopoly?
The modern Monopoly rule books say you don't get money like it because so many people do it. They say this is not the rule.
Wait, then where does the money go? How do you get the money in the middle?
You put it in the middle.
Right, but how do you get that money?
People who don't do free parking put that in the bank.
What?
You just put the money back into the bank?
The taxes and all that?
Friends who are listening on the audio media, Barack's face just totally
I'm gonna look this
shined
up.
with amazement that people play this differently than he does. Barack, I would like to say on behalf of the general Monopoly playing community, you are doing it right.
I
The people who follow the rules are so weird.
Yeah, it says cost 0, reward 0. You can just sit on the space until your next turn. Which honestly, it makes sense because when I get free parking on the street, nobody goes, "Congratulations, here's all the money people paid in taxes this month."
that's
What?
my thought.
Have you
I've
ever
never-
done that in Atlantic City, though,
Right.
where Monopoly is based?
Hmm.
I've
Right.
never conceived of people getting money at the free parking spot ever until just now. This is a foreign concept to me.
Oh.
Ethan, you cannot be serious. You've
No, I'm
never
completely
heard of free
serious.
parking money?
Yeah, completely serious.
Wow. Wait, so we
Amazing.
have, just to kind of take stock of this, we have Ethan who's saying, I've never heard of this practice.
Yeah.
We have Barack who's astonished that anyone could ever do this practice differently.
Yeah.
And we have RDY who's saying that practice is more correct than the rules as written.
Yeah.
I also I'm going to add on to this.
Judaism.
Judaism, son.
That's right. Judaism.
That's
Yeah.
Barack. That's Ethan is Orthodox. Barack is conservative. I'm Reform. Good night, everyone.
Oh my God.
I'm going to add in that I had no idea this wasn't a rule. That's insane to me. But that when the middle gets taken, immediately $100 goes in to make sure that there's a free parking money lot available.
Oh, we don't do that.
Yes.
That's interesting. We just
Yeah.
consider it like the bonus of like
No.
the bad luck of landing on it so soon after.
This feels like a Mandela effect situation. That like for
That's
so
the
many.
Monopoly guy's monocle, which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
What? The
Uh-huh.
monocle doesn't exist?
Yeah, it's
No.
Mandela effect.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Lexi
Monopoly-
just been playing a whole nother game.
See,
I wasn't even playing Monopoly. I was playing the one with the monocle. Oh man. It's like Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
Spelled like, how do you spell that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
can like my D&D game is chock full of house rules.
Good.
I mean the what happens when you roll a one? That's very often a house rule. And for me, like, if you have players who are so good at something that they can't, they would never really fail at a task, and they roll a one, to me, that doesn't seem they should fail at the task. It seems like something should happen that doesn't go the way they planned. Like the example that I always give is like if you're picking locks and you have a plus 15 to your lock picking skill and you roll a one, you're still gonna successfully pick the lock, but maybe your lock pick breaks or bends and you're gonna roll at disadvantage until you replace it. That
And like, even though rules as written, if you roll a one on the die, it's an automatic failure on whatever
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right that experts in their field should fail 1/20th of the time.
Mm.
I like
That's
it.
a great point.
That's so I do like that, but I also enjoy, like, I probably would have the lock, like a one for me. I think the lock pick breaks and blocks the lock. Like I would do it, just it's the worst scenario possible. That's
Oh,
how I
like
sort
it's
of,
the lock pick's fault, not the skill of the
yeah,
player.
it's a chance of the situation. And so I like that a one is makes it harder. And a 20 similarly, when you get you know, a handsome 20, whatever you want to call it.
Nat 20.
A nat 20. If you get a nat 20, I don't know why. I was thinking of the dirty 20. I like to come up with weird names for
You're
dirty
always
20.
thinking of
Um,
dirty ones.
yeah. So that when somebody rolls a nat 20, I also don't think it's an automatic success. Like when they say, "Hey, I'm looking around the room for a glass of water," nat 20 doesn't mean a glass of water magically appears, but maybe they get like really close, or they can, like, there's some other thing. It's not a magic genie lamp when a nat 20 happens for me. And some people make it a genie lamp scenario.
Well,
I
I would say if, again, this is my DM brain going, but if someone says they're looking for a glass of water in a room where there's no glass of water, I might go, "You're pretty sure there's one in this other room."
Yeah, right. Something like that. It doesn't just appear
Yeah.
here. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like what I'm hearing from this is like, what is the D20 roll for? And there's a difference. First of all, no one's playing rules as written with when you
Yeah.
roll a nat one, and in this conversation,
Yeah.
and that, like, what's the but more than that, our minhag of what a nat one or a nat 20 means is so much about what do we think this role is doing for us. Like RDY, for you, that role is a reflection of how good the character is at the thing. It's like how well did you express your innate ability, something like that. And Barack,
Yeah.
for you, it's more like, how does the world conspire to make this event go successfully or
Yeah.
not? And
Yeah.
then, like, that's so much, I feel like this is why I love thinking about Judaism through the lens of tabletop role-playing games, because that's so much the way that Jewish minhagim, I think, actually show up in our lives. Like, why do some people keep one day of Yom Tov, of those longer holidays, and some people don't? Obviously, meaning, why do some people keep one day of the holidays, even in the diaspora, and some people don't? And I think it's a difference of, like, what is that second day for? What is it doing?
Mm.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
because and
you've
because
read
I
the
know
rules.
and because I know what it's
Yeah.
for, I celebrate one day.
Yeah. I will also, I'm curious, Lexi, like we're talking about
Yeah.
natural ones and natural 20s. And when you play a Jewish role-playing game, we've talked about this for our anniversary episodes. We haven't implemented it yet, but we've talked
Okay.
about making the 18 the best number to roll. And so, like, so then you get a natural high, which is really nice. Um, have you ever used something like that where you then completely change the rule on it, that like it's not the highest number, but it is appropriate for this context?
Something I love about that for Jews is that it's like such big Jacob energy. Like Jacob was not the oldest. He shouldn't have won, quote unquote, the birthright and the inheritance. And yet, like through his being who he is, he ends up making his lower role actually a critical success. And that's like the natural 18 becomes the true natural 20, which I love.
I mean,
That's fun. I also
you're selling me.
I think
I've never heard I never even considered doing that. I will now. I do know of, for example, the role-playing game If I Were a Lich Man,
Yes.
which it uses dreidels as D4s to play that game. So that like is another very Jewish way of transforming dice into something more for us.
Yeah, we did that. We used dreidels for our D4s in our 3rd-year anniversary episode, which was a lot of fun.
And I have since been gifted a D8 that only has the 4 characters on it, and a D20 that only has those 4 characters on it.
Very
So
fun.
I now have 3 dreidel dice.
Nice.
Dreidel dice.
The other thing it's making me think of the 18 not being the 20 is oh God, what's the name? What's the practice of it's making me think of that practice where you're supposed to balance yourself and not aim for perfection. Yeah, Musar. I think it's the right one, where you're supposed to like think about all the midot and like not get perfected on any of them, because if you go too far to the end, it's not good, right? So pull yourself back a little bit. I think also where this natural 18 lines up a little bit also.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much.
You guys are selling me on this idea.
The Musar Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Like if you really kill all the beasts in the dungeon, you really went too far.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you leave one goblin to torture. Yeah.
Oh man, my players listen to this. I can't take any ideas directly.
Oh my gosh. No, but like speaking of like resolution mechanics in games, like rolling dice to decide what happens in Worlds to Come, the game I designed, there are no dice, and it's all how intentionally you use your words is what determines what happens. And I feel it's a reflection of many things, but also the very Jewish concept of Ein Mazal Yisrael. There is no star or luck for the Jewish people, which is to say, like, dice resolution is all about chance and fate and things turning out your way because you're like blessed by the dice gods. And one Jewish take on why things go the way they go is they go the way they go because of the choices we make in our lives. And it's cool to have a Jewish game that also reflects that like Jewish philosophy.
I love that. I mean, yeah, and the change of a letter or the change of a pronunciation completely changes the meaning, especially in Hebrew. Very often I'll talk about the spoken commandments and the series of lo or don't do these things. But if you were to like take lo tirtzach, for example, do not murder. If you are only accessing this with your ears, there is a chance, however tainted that interpretation may be, that you could read it not Lamed Aleph, which is low, don't, but you could hear it as Lamed Vav, which is for him or for it. So it could change your hearing from do not murder to murder for him or it or them, possibly meaning God.
Wow.
Please, listeners, do not interpret it that way.
That's why we all have copies of the Chumash, of the Torah, in front of us when the Torah reading's happening, so that we don't get confused about whether it's that Lamed or whether it's that Aleph or that Vav.
That's also, this week's Torah portion, as we're recording, is Va'et Chanan, which has Shema in it, which we mentioned during sound check, and the ayin of Shema, the last letter of the word listen, and the dalid of echad, the word that means one, as in God is one, are bigger in the text. And some say that that is because there is another word, Shema, which means maybe, and another word, acher, which means another, and they're too easily confused for those two words. And those two words are too important to confuse because you wouldn't want it to be translated as maybe Adonai is our God, or maybe there's another.
That would not be good to mess up. So, Artie, I have a question for you. As someone who has, been at a few different synagogues recently in your career, as someone who also was working to help merge two synagogues together last year, what do you do when some, synagogues have we've always done it this way, sort of thing? How do you navigate that? Like when you have their unwritten rules of doing things.
Yeah, constantly. I'm still learning the minhagim, that plural, of the congregation I'm working with right now. And thankfully, I'm working with a cantor who's very much paying attention to my questioning looks. And he's very good at kind of like nodding or gesturing and like, yep, now. Or just saying the thing that needs to be said if I'm dragging my feet or trying to figure it out. Last year, like you said, there were two sets of these, and we had to very carefully navigate in advance which ones we thought we were going to use for which different things. And sometimes it depended on what building we were in. Like if we were in a particular building, then we followed that building's minhag. And sometimes it was, this kind of works better for the community at large. For example, one community had Shabbat services at 5:30 and the other one had it at 7. So we moved it to 6. And
nobody came.
Nobody liked it. I think it favored the 5:30 crowd. My original idea was to put it at 6:15, so it'd be smack in the middle. But the leadership team that I was working with said people don't work on the 15s. So 6 o'clock, and I loved it, but it wasn't about me. So,
Yeah.
And the other side of it is I didn't hear many complaints about it, but I am pretty sure the other rabbi did.
That's interesting because when somebody brings a game or they're the DM or whatever, like people get together and we discover this new house rule. I'll often either if we're in a shared space, a game lounge or some public space, I usually defer to either like the person who brought the game or the person who's running the game to make the decision. If we're in somebody's house, maybe it's like house rules, right? That's where it comes from. So the person whose house it is might get to make the decision. But there are situations where that's looser, and so we like sort of take a poll, and what does everybody think? As you're talking about, let's merge it together. The problem with that, the difference here is that we're not then always playing together, right? They'll go back and you'll play with the other groups, and you get to experience the house rules you want to. But the merger, if once it's changed, it's changed. We've always done it that way, and so yeah,
it's funny because in one of the games the game that I DM right now, over the course of the 5.5 years that we've been playing, I've pulled in rules from other systems where like I learn a new gaming system. The one that I love is called usage dice, where like, how often do you have an archer in the campaign who says at the end, I collect my arrows, and you just go, okay, you still have 20 arrows then. And you don't account for ones that you can't find or ones that have broken in their missing and firing and whatnot. So usage die kind of adds a little realism to this. You finish a battle, and if your item is brand new, let's say arrow starts with a usage die of 20. Well, you roll a 20-sided die at the end of the battle, and if you get a 1 or a 2, your usage die lowers 1, so it becomes a 12. When you eventually get down to a D4, if you roll a 1 or a 2, you've lost all your arrows. You need to replace them.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It's a great system.
So elegant.
It's
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
and that's from the game called Black Sword Hack,
Mm.
which I'm told is a French game based off of another game that was based off of D&D.
I'm really curious to hear how your players respond to when you bring new rules in from other systems, because also we're talking about like, how does your synagogue respond when you're navigating changing the minhag, and I feel that in many ways the DM, for better or worse, in a role playing game is in a similar position to the rabbi of a synagogue. Insofar as like when it comes to a question of what are we going to do, you very often a table will defer to the GM or a synagogue will defer to the rabbi or the ritual committee or the board president. So I'm curious to hear how they react to when you change those, to when you introduce those rules.
Can I
Wait,
before
yeah,
you
go ahead.
before you answer, I'm gonna give the synagogue response of how you should have introduce your players to this new rule.
I like this
So
already.
so here's what you do. And in the synagogue, when you're trying to make this change, you don't just introduce the change. That will fail. So what you do is you first identify a leader in the group, in the party, right? Who you know will agree and is a big voice for the rest of the players. And you start with them. He's, I just found this great new mechanic. Here's what it is. Like, what do you think? They'll be like, oh my gosh, that's great. I love that. It's so wonderful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's awesome. And then you have a conversation with another player who's sort of on the fence. And you say, hey, I'm going to introduce this new system. They go, God, I don't know. That's really weird. Well, I already talked to player A. They love this thing. They think it's going to be amazing. Well, if they think it's going to be amazing, then I think we should probably try it. And then you like let everybody know on the side, hey, just so you know, on this next game, like without the individual conversations at that point, you've talked to the important ones that you need to, right? You then announce to everybody, just so everybody knows, at the next game, we're going to introduce this new system. And then the game happens, you introduce it, and then you create tradition, you do it again.
That is
That
that
was
is one
great,
way to do
Barack.
it.
Yeah.
Although if you when you that's where you did say at one moment that person A was being convinced by you and you told person B that they were into it. And that's where you
Yeah.
can step in it sometimes.
Uh,
But I can give you a solid example. One of the things that I started doing when I was still in California was I fixed the imahot.
what's the email
When
for
the
Jason? Who's
imahot, yeah, sorry, thank you. The imahot are the additional mothers that we've added
oh
in
yeah.
our prayers when we say the first blessing of the Amidah, which is the central prayer of the prayer service. It used to be referred to as avot, which means ancestors or fathers, and we would only mention Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And in the 70s, 80s, in the 90s, it was commonplace. But in the 70s and 80s, it started to be introduced. Hey, we have to talk about the mothers too. And so we added Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And we call them the imahot, but we did it wrong. We didn't add the imahot. We added the nashim, the wives. The imahot are Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. And by leaving
That's
Bilhah
true.
and Zilpah out, we are negating one quarter of the tribes of Israel because they were mothers to the two of them together are mothers to a quarter of the tribes of Israel. And so when I want to introduce the Bilhah and Zilpah into our prayers for a new congregation, I do the teaching I just did and I say, it's going to be strange, but a lot of us remember how strange it was in the 80s when we started adding the imahot that we had never heard before, and now we can't imagine praying without them. So let's try and get ourselves to a point where we can't imagine praying without our forgotten mothers. And so the other way to do it, so Barack, the way that you said is absolutely a way to do it.
Yeah.
And when you have 100 people or more, you definitely have to go to key players. When you have 6 people total at your table,
Yeah.
you could just say to all of them, "Hey, here's an idea. What do y'all think?" Um, but when you're doing something that is kind of rabbi's role, freedom of the pulpit. If
Is that
they
rabbi's role, like of the dice?
rabbis roll the dice, and if I get a nat 18, I get to tell you what prayers we're saying.
Mhm.
And, and
But you don't get to say whether they like it.
that's right. But if we, if we learn about what the minhagim serve, what purposes they serve, then
Yeah.
we're more likely to be amenable to them.
I really agree with that about minhagim. Understanding the purpose behind them is so much what needs to be the beginning of the conversation. And I think that it should be a conversation, whether it's strategically one-on-one or with the whole party, as it were. When the halachic commentators discuss the concept of minhag in the Talmud, one way of navigating this that comes up, because these very learned rabbis were traveling in the time of the Gemara 1,500 years ago from place to place, and there was no internet. There were not even trains to speak of, and communities were really doing their own thing. And in that sense, minhag was more what their Judaism was than any concept of halacha, or even necessarily of any book, because most people could not read at that time. And the whole thing of what Judaism was our ancestors have done it this way since forever. And then these rabbis who've learned so much Torah and know and are so holding in these traditions show up and say, actually, what you think is your ancestral tradition actually started as a mistake, that your ancestors got it wrong. And now I'm here to correct you, coming in, from Babel, coming out to like rural Persia. Like, here you go. I'm pleased to inform you that I'm right.
I'm sure that always lands very well.
Yeah. And, the halachic commentators, the Tosafotes, distinguish between a minhag ta'ut, a mistaken minhag, and a minhag humra, a strict minhag, a strict custom. And they say there, if you are a very learned person who has all the correct opinions, and you encounter some Jews or some people, lahavdil, not that these are the same thing, but some people playing Dungeons and Dragons, and you know the right way to do it, and they're doing it wrong, if they're doing it to be strict, or I think the game's version of this is, if they're doing it to increase the challenge for themselves because that's fun for them, then you shouldn't correct them. Whether they're learned, even if they are learned people and should know better, even if they've read the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Monster Manual, you shouldn't correct them, even if it's not rules as written, because that is how they are making it more fun for themselves, by making it harder. They're not doing the Nat 18, even though that is the Jewish minhag for Dungeons and Dragons, official on the books now. But if you encounter people who are practicing a minhag ta'ut, a mistaken custom, if they are learned, you should have a conversation with them about it, say the medieval halachic commentators. And you should try to convince them that they're wrong, because they're in a position, being learned in the same way that you are. They think about the rules the same way you do. They're in a position to appreciate that conversation. They're like, yes, we are ready to play with those usage dice because we want to make our game more sophisticated, because we like taking on new rules and thinking about design. And we're ready to bring in that conversation about Bilhah and Zilpah, even though maybe before we started talking, we didn't know who those women were. The point being, when it comes to thinking about minhag, and I think also when it comes to getting together to play a game, which really at the end of the day is a shared activity that we hope will connect us and add meaning to our lives, we have to be aware of who it is we're talking to, where they're coming from, what they want out of the experience, and not just what we want out of the experience and what we think our great ideas are. And I think having a concept of these rules are like minhagim that people are really invested in and that we don't make fun of and we don't trash. And on the other side, with Jewish customs and practices, I think we can hold them sometimes a little more lightly, and then we can enjoy them all a little more because we're reminded why we're doing them in the first place. So that's my pitch for the smash of minhag and home rules and home brew.
That's great.
Take it or leave
I love it.
So good. I want to
Love it.
add that you had said stuff in the end there that's making me think about how I play board games, whether it be with adults or children. There's practices that I've adopted that I've learned from other people that I think now are like the right way to play with new people or new kids. And that when I'm playing with children, I don't take their turns for them. Right? I will make sure that they understand the rules that they're supposed to do. Like, I'm not going to let them jump to the red space if they pull an orange card, right? No, you have to move to orange, right? But I won't suggest them the moves that they should make, and I treat them as an NPC of the board game. Of like, I know as an adult, there's an easy way to make this, and you should absolutely move this owl to that space first before moving all the other owls. That's the best strategy-wise. But it makes it harder for me for them to do their own moves, but it also teaches them the strategy a lot better if they can see the results of their actions instead of me making their actions for them. So that's one. And when I see parents doing that now, I get upset of like, let them play the game, but nobody's had this conversation outside of like my head. And so I'll often try, as you said, like if you have a conversation with them, and I'll say, oh, you know what? I've started doing this with my kids. I find it to be really good. And I'll find the way to have that chat with them if I see them like taking all of their kids' turns and getting upset that they lose the game, because that's not the point for me. And then similarly, when I'm playing with adults who have never played a game that I have played a lot, in person. I'm sorry, RDY and I play a lot of board games online, and I don't get to do this with him in person. But I'll put in the chat, is that when I'm playing with a new adult who's never played a game, I will explain all of my moves that I'm making because they don't yet understand the strategy. And it's sort of, I learned that from my father-in-law, who when I play chess with, he announces all of the reasons why he's moving his piece to this space, which makes the game so much harder when you're playing chess because I know what his strategy is. So then I have to out loud say what I'm going to do in my return. I'm not hiding any secrets. So, but when you're playing with adult a new board game, they might not know why I can't secretly, I'm going to do this because I'm hoping to get this dice later. I will say that to them. I'm hoping to get this. They'll then know that that's a strategy. They can go for that dice. But if I just make the move, they're not going to understand the game as wholly as I do in my head when I'm playing it. So those are two minhag that I have now for playing board games with either kids or adults who have never played a game before.
Are you going to do that in the game that I just complained about that we started again?
I would love to if we were. I wish we were playing in person. RDY and I just started a game called The White Castle, which is a worker placement game, and it's very complicated-ish. And it'd be a lot easier for me to show them in person, but we're playing online because we live in different states.
So like one of us makes a move and then goes to work, and then
Yeah.
comes home and then comes home from work and has to do another move and has forgotten all the things that happened before.
Yeah.
Or maybe just me.
No, absolutely.
Lexi, thank you so much for
Yeah.
what a great smash, Minhagim and Homebrew and House Rules, and a great way to think about it. Anything you want to shout out in perpetuity? Like this is, I understand that you might have a new role-playing game that's on Kickstarter.
It's true. I am the designer of Worlds to Come, the Hebrew role-playing game, the first and only TTRPG that teaches you Hebrew as you play it. It is currently on Kickstarter. We are collecting followers, planning to launch later in August. So check out the page, give it a follow. And if you have any questions about it, want to learn more, or even play a game with me, my email's in the show description. Please reach out.
And we can even put a link to the Kickstarter page, Worlds to Come, or if you go to Kickstarter and search Worlds to Come, it should come up.
Yeah.
It looks like fun.
Nice. Do you have anything in there, right? If it's about Hebrew words, if memory serves, the magic phrase abracadabra is based out of a Hebrew phrase, right? Isn't that true?
That's the legend.
Oh, great. I like it.
We'll say it's not factual, but it is true.
Okay.
I love that. That's if you say it, it's true, which is the whole thesis of the game.
Yeah.
The things you say in Hebrew come true.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
abracadabra, I will create
Yeah.
as I speak.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lexi. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I had such a good time. It was really a thrill to get to chat about this stuff with you. I am really thrilled we got to talk.
This is
Me
fun.
too.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find us and is an excellent way to support the podcast. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion. Go to torahsmash.com to find where to connect with us online, purchase swag from our store, support us with a donation, find previous episodes, send us an email with a topic suggestion, and more. And how does Moses make coffee in the morning? He brews it.
He brews it.
Okay, and me saying that is exactly when my ironing board fell.
No.
Take it back. Artie White, take it back. Take it back.
Spin over your shoulder 3 times, quick.
It's not my minhag.
Not 18 on that joke.
Do the other one.
We should do that with like Parshat HaShavua. Mic check.
Here, I'm so sorry that Artie White was away from the computer. Ethan and I are not as well versed in like our Jewish knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm sure that was a solid joke. And I don't get the reference.
Wait, Lexi, say it again. We'll pretend we didn't hear it.